Untitled from the Business Foundry. I'm glad you all made it. We're going to start in about 30 seconds. For those of you who don't know me, I am the owner of the Business Foundry. We are a boutique digital marketing agency that works exclusively with info marketers. And we work with all kinds of folks, small ones, larger ones, little ones. And today we're going to be talking about marketing funnels. And we're actually going to do a workshop that's going to help you build your marketing funnel. So if you're just joining us, what I'd love for you to do is go over to the Q&A box. If you don't mind, I put in my name and said where I'm from, La Jolla, California. Could you put in, tell me where you're calling in from? That's really helpful. Cool. And we're letting some other people join. And as people are joining, if you don't mind typing in where you're from. Awesome. Okay. So today we're going to be covering, we're going to have a whole marketing funnel workshop. So I really want you to get excited. I know I really appreciate you taking the time and to spend with me. So hopefully you'll find it really valuable. I want to walk through a couple things on, a marketing funnel, some really important prerequisites here. And kind of the first question is why do I need a marketing funnel? And, a marketing funnel will help you attract and convert customers automatically so you can do what you do best and stop worrying about growing your business. I know that when we work with digital marketers and info marketers, we find that the number one concern they have is, how do I grow my business, right? How do I get people to buy my product? How do I make this all happen? Well, the fact of the matter is it's a system, and that's what the marketing funnel does. It is a system that continually attracts and converts customers. The fact is most people don't necessarily do it the right way or don't know how. And today we're going to cover a really, really awesome technique that we use that is easy to implement. And by the end of this presentation, you will have the foundations to actually implement this in your business immediately. So what is a marketing funnel? You can see there's a lot of ways to get traffic, and that's what you're seeing on the top of that funnel. You're blogging, you're doing, you're putting Facebook posts and social media here and there, and you're doing all these different things, and you've got a website, and you've got an opt-in, and maybe press releases, and all these different things. Those are traffic sources. The question is what do you do with them, right? And so obviously what we want to do is have the deepest level of engagement, which currently that means opting into an email list, okay? So we want to use all that traffic to get people to opt into an email list. And so once we do that, we can create this automated system that's going to work 24/7 that is completely designed to attract and convert your ideal customer. Because obviously you're going to have all kinds of traffic out there, and some people are going to opt into your list. They may not be your ideal customer. They're not the ones that you're really going to be looking to attract. Okay? So that's how the marketing funnel, that's sort of the basics of what a marketing funnel is. And so let's talk about what we're going to cover today. The big takeaway for today is we're going to walk you through, this step-by-step formula to build your own marketing funnel, right? So you're going to walk away with that today. And I can guarantee you this approach is different than anything that you've seen before, okay? Cool. So I want to start with this. Marketing funnels are everywhere, okay? And it is important. They're in the grocery store. The reason why the milk is in the back of the grocery store and the entrances are on the sides, and the milk is usually in the front and in the back in the middle, and so you've got to walk the furthest possible point to get to the milk. Why? Because milk is their number one selling product. And so that is how they bring people into the store, and they get people to buy additional products. This is a classic example, but quite frankly, funnels are in everything that we do. They are, they were prevalent previous to the digital world, but now the digital world is so prevalent that it is sort of, these products and these experiences are constructed around a funnel. And so what is a funnel? A funnel is just simply a series of micro commitments along the way. I made a commitment to go to the store. I made a commitment to go walk in and get the milk, so on and so forth. And along the way, there are opportunities to up-level that engagement, to purchase, quite frankly. So it's a really nice experience that allows people to go from not knowing who you are to falling in love with you and hopefully buying your product or your service. So you should be seeing my screen. It's got a frowny face and a smiley face. I think this is the most simplistic way to describe what you do. I don't care what you sell. You provide an experience for your customer. They have the current state of being, which is the frowny face that they're in now, right? So your job is to create that yellow arrow and give them a great experience and have them turn that frowny face into a smiley face. I know that sounds ridiculously simple, but truthfully, that's what it is, right? We don't usually buy a new car because we want to get from A to B. That's almost a given today. We buy a new car because we want a status, or because we want it to make us feel good, right? Those of you who like to shop, you don't shop because you need a new pair of shoes. You shop because it makes you feel good for whatever reason, right? So your product, your service, what you're offering people is there to take them from their current state, which is in sort of missing something or unhappy or in a pain state or something, and then turn them into that being a positive, happy state, okay? That's how all marketing is. So really your job in marketing is figuring out a way to communicate this to people, right? I mean, look at car commercials today. Half the time they don't even talk about the car. And there's a Lincoln commercial, and there's an actor who is Matthew McConaughey, who's literally driving the car. They don't talk about the car. They talk about all these different things, but you can tell that there's it's very much a mood. If you guys have seen any of these ads, there's a very powerful mood, right? There's an energy. That's what they're trying to convey. Whether or not it works or not, who knows? But that's what they're trying to convey. So I think it's really important that you are very clear that this is your job. This is your job as a marketer to convey this. And that's what we're going to do. And that's what I'm going to teach you how to do very simply today using this funnel system. So if you guys are just joining us and you're coming in a little bit later, if you don't mind jumping in the Q&A, telling us where you're calling in from, where you're dialing in from, that would be awesome. And what we're talking about here is this, that really all products and services are there to take your customer from the unhappy state to the happy state, okay? So a funnel is that process of having your ideal customer, your prospect, your lead, know you, like you, and trust you. This is really important. The goal of a marketing funnel is not to make a sale, right? That's a byproduct. The goal of a marketing funnel is that someone can know you, like you, and trust you. That lasts much longer. So if we have someone, let's say we're on this call and you walk away and say, wow, I really like what Ryan's doing. I like what the business founder is doing. This is really cool stuff. I wanna know more. I like them. I trust them. That's going to develop a long-term relationship. If it's just about making a sale, that isn't a long-term relationship. And I think that's where a lot of marketing funnels miss. And quite frankly, that gives marketing funnels a bad name. If you have had an experience buying a car, I can tell you buying a car at a BMW or Mercedes dealership is extremely different than buying a car at like a used car lot. And I'm not saying that it has to do with necessarily price, but what it has to do with is that usually the high-end newer car companies have, when you're at their lot, it's not a high stress, high pressure sales pitch usually anymore, right? Those days are over. And today it's about developing a relationship. And what you find is what used to be an industry where people were transient and people would be buying cars from different people and there was a new salesperson every 6 months at a car dealership. That's not the case anymore either. There's stability. So ultimately, the value in a marketing funnel is having stability in your relationship. So I'm going to let you into an important sort of secret. A lot of people are going to tell you the value of your marketing is in your list. And that's not true. Okay? The value of your marketing is in the relationship with your list. And so I have plenty of clients that have, large lists, let's say hundreds of thousands of people that are on their list. And some of them have a deep relationship with them and are highly, highly engaged. And those people know them, like them, and trust them. And some people don't. It doesn't matter how big your list is. It matters how quality your relationship is. Okay? So I think that's all makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about where we see funnels and knowing, liking, and trusting. These are two websites, obviously, that I pulled. One is Hillary Clinton on the left. The other is Donald Trump on the right. These are marketing funnels, and these are a place for people to opt in and develop a relationship with these folks. They want you to know them, to like them, and trust them. So you see a lot of that happening right now. Between the two, putting on my marketing hat, if I go on a Hillary Clinton site, the site seems to do a better job. There's a better opt-in that comes up. I can't show it to you live right now because I've already cached, that my cache is showing that I've already done it, so it only shows it to you once. But pretty powerful stuff. So you're seeing this happening all day, every day right now in ways that they're looking to engage you, specifically to get your vote and to get you to contribute. Those are the two things. Let's not forget that in today's marketplace, a lot of business is done online, and it's just happening more and more and more. All the businesses that we work with, because we're a digital marketing agency that works with primarily info marketers, and so all the businesses that we work with generate 100% of their revenue online, right? And so we've sold over $100 million worth of products and services in a variety of different categories. And what I can tell you is it doesn't have to be complicated, doesn't have to be difficult. What it has to be is thorough, and it has to really generate that know, like, and trust feel. So I'm going to give an example. Marketing funnels are built on these what I'm going to call micro commitments. And the very first commitment you're going to have is to opt in. And we've all seen these in a million different ways. Here's a good example of one. Want to learn to build 10,000 fans for free? Yes, please, or no thanks, and show me how now, or I like when visitors bounce. Okay? Now couldn't be more simple. This is a pop-up on a website. This could be a pop-up insert into a blog, whatever. I can tell you that if that pops up, it doesn't have a logo, it doesn't say much, but that is an extremely effective micro commitment, and that will start the funnel, right? Yes, I want in on this, okay? And so if that started out by saying, do you want to buy a $97 product from a no-name company without a logo? Most people are going to say, absolutely not. I'm out of here, right? Don't get me wrong. If you have a a big brand name and people know who you are, then you're going to be able to ride on that familiarity already, right? So if you're a celebrity, you can get away. You've already built up that. But assuming that you don't have that credibility already, nobody is going to just buy your product without getting to know you, like you, and trust you. And so this is the first step, okay? So we talk about the power of the micro commitment and what that means. And I can't stress this enough. It's literally little steps, one step at a time. And so when we build a marketing funnel, we're going to talk a lot about how we can create these little micro commitments, because here is how it works. Human beings are pre-wired. Like, this is one of the main reasons why marketing funnels work. Human beings are pre-wired to finish what they start. I'm going to say that again. Human beings are pre-wired to finish what they start. Okay? I'm not saying that everyone's going to finish, but we by nature want to. So it's logical that if we can get someone to opt in and make a micro commitment, then we're looking for additional little commitments along the way that will eventually lead to a larger commitment. That's how this works. So we don't start with, it's just like dating. You start with a text or a phone call, and then you have a coffee, and then it turns into a full-blown dinner, and then you date for a while, and then you get married, and then you have kids. You don't do that in the other order. Well, unless, maybe you do, but for the most time, it goes the other way around. And that's just how we want this to work. So I'll give you another example. So we showed you an opt-in page. The minute I opt in, what we like to do is have the second part of the funnel is a thank you page. So first thing, of course, is opting in, getting someone's email. We've seen that a lot. The second and just as important is a thank you page, which is going to acknowledge what you just did. Hey, thank you for signing up. You must confirm your subscription. Check your inbox for details. And then it's going to ask you for another micro commitment, right? And so that next micro commitment is, will you join the podcast workshops? This is a different coach. These aren't the two pieces. That opt-in was a little different than this one. But hey, join this webinar, right? So this is a great example of what a thank you page should be on your funnel. So we opt in, and then, which is the first micro commitment, and then we're looking for another micro commitment. And there are two types of thank you pages, right? So, and for those of you guys joining a little bit later, we're walking through marketing funnels, and specifically, we're talking about the concept of micro commitments, right? Because that's what a marketing funnel is, right? Marketing funnel is not about sending you a bunch of information, a bunch of long emails. As a matter of fact, I'm going to advocate that you don't do that, okay? Instead, what it is asking you to take very, very small commitments to learn more so that you can know, like, and trust each other. And a webinar is a method of choice for many people. If you sell services, okay, a webinar should be one of your top approaches. As a matter of fact, for many of you, it will be by far your best approach, okay? And we'll talk about why webinars work so much here in a minute. But this is a great example of a thank you page with a call to action to join a webinar. This is what we like to do. We think this is extremely effective, right? So we also will look at emails. And right now, I'm just giving you different pieces. We're going to get into the funnel and show you how to do this. But here's an example of an email that we would send out asking you to join the webinar. Let's say you opted in, you see the thank you page, but you don't join the webinar. You're going to start getting emails about that exact webinar to try to get you in. So this is about new free training, right? No charge, and you can register here. It's a secret weapon, okay? So let's say I click on it. I want to go to the webinar. Now I need a webinar registration page. And by the way, I'm showing you different webinars components here, just like different emails, different things, so you can get a little bit more variety. But this is a really great webinar registration page for many, many reasons. For one reason is it's not giving you too much information. I mean, this is a micro commitment, right? You know, oftentimes if you're trying to sell something, that's different. That's a bigger commitment. You need to generally have more information. But this is like kind of a perfect amount of information. So I'm going to walk through this page a little bit. And kind of to recap, we opted in. We have a thank you page that said, hey, do you want to register? You didn't. You get a bunch of emails that say, hey, register, register, register. And then you click on it and you go here. And by the way, we're going to review all of this, and you're going to have an opportunity. I'm going to give you an opportunity to get all this whole presentation for free. You can download it. I'll show you how to do that at the end. So we're going to cover this. I'm just giving you a brief overview right now. So when I look at this reservation, this webinar registration page, how to find hidden jobs in any economy. How to find hidden jobs in any economy. Stop competing with thousands of other job seekers for advertised jobs. Okay? This doesn't have a company name. It doesn't even say specifically what is going to be said in this. That's why I think this one is so brilliant. Not because being vague is a good thing, but because literally how to find hidden jobs in any economy is, it's not saying like how you can use, you know, Craigslist or networking. I have no idea what they're even going to talk about. But the fact is that is captivating. And if I'm looking for a job, I mean, this is captivating. And so it allows me to simply pick my time, my date. It allows me to choose whether or not I want an SMS or text reminder. And boom, I can register. Okay. We're going to dig into this page a little bit more later on. But this is a great webinar registration page. Forget about whether or not you like how it looks, but the functionality is fantastic. And it has a video. We like videos on webinar registration pages. They convert usually substantially higher. In many cases, it can be 2 or 3 times better conversion. So we generally advocate a small, quick video. This is a couple minutes long that are going to say, hey, you know, something like, you know, I'd love to invite you to our webinar. In this case, we're going to walk you through this, 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 this. And you go through the benefits and possibly some of the features. So benefits are things that you're going to gain out of it, right? I look at cars and I say, well, features and benefits, you know, this is how old I am. And I could say, well, you know, there was a time when you had roll-up windows, right? And you also, you have, you know, electric windows. When someone says, well, this has got electric windows, that's a feature. A benefit is saying, you know, on a hot day and you want to roll down your windows and get some air in your hair, you don't have to lean over and crank the thing down. You just push the button. That's a benefit, right? So just 2 different ways to communicate that. People buy in benefits, as we all know. They don't necessarily buy based on features. And a big benefit is status and ego and all those sorts of things, right? Okay. So we're gonna kind of dig into this a little bit more. And so the first thing that most people say is, wow, marketing funnels are hard. Because I can tell you, I've worked with a lot of folks that that have started and stopped this process, and that's very common, right? So I don't have the time, I don't have the skills, I just don't like doing it. Some people don't like marketing. Some people think it's kind of cheesy. Some people just find it very challenging. And so we've created that solution for you, and we're going to review that here in a second. We're going to make this super fast. We're going to make it so that you don't have to be filled with, you know, tons of tech skills. And in actuality, it's going to be a reflection of what is, you know, true to your brand and how you communicate to people. So certain info marketers or certain folks that have a product or service are going to communicate different ways. Some people, you know, if you're talking about spiritual products, things of that nature, you can communicate in your voice authentically, and that will work perfectly. But you still want to follow the formula, right? Like if you know, putting milk in the back of the grocery store is a powerful formula. Very few grocery stores don't do that, right? You know, I'm pretty sure that they all do it because the formula works. So I would suggest that you find the right formula, and this is a great one that we're going to show you. And this is what we've called it. It's called the cloning funnel. So the cloning funnel is based on a pretty simple concept. And that concept is that marketing funnels are hard. Content is hard. Like, oh my gosh, I got to do a webinar, and I've got to do emails, and I've got to figure this stuff out, and I got to put it all together, and then I got to monitor to see what it works. The fact is, you don't nearly need to do that much work if you use a cloning funnel. So there are two ways that you can get a commitment from somebody. Okay, one is money, the other is time. Okay, and so money, a good example of a commitment in money would be when I opt in, I have a thank you page that instead of saying, hey, do you want to register for a webinar, which would be time, it would say, do you want to buy this product, like a $7 type product? That's also known as a tripwire. So do you want to buy this tripwire product and make a little micro commitment along the way? Or, and then go from there? Well, here's what we find. Both of them work, but we work with time with our clients for the most part. And the reason being is, first of all, time is extremely valuable. The fact that you're on this webinar right now tells me a lot. You're committed. This is a major commitment to your time. Time has a cost, right? And so we use webinars as opposed to videos, as opposed to anything else, because that requires someone to make a real commitment of their time. As a matter of fact, in this particular funnel, we do not offer replays. That is extremely important. We tell people this is a live, one-time broadcast or whatever it is. There is no replay. There is no replay, and that really makes someone make a commitment. Hey, is this important enough? Should I go to this? Should I check this thing out? Okay, so we work a lot with time, but there's really only two micro commitments: time and money. So this funnel, the cloning funnel, is based around webinars, and not exclusively, but we use webinars to engage, to make that micro commitment. So just like you're on this webinar right now, the power of a webinar is extraordinary, truthfully, because it does two things. One is on your side, let's say right now, you are self-selecting. You're raising your hand saying, hey, this is something that I'm interested in. I'm going to make a commitment, and I'm going to show up, and I'm going to be present. On the other hand, you have me, who can communicate and ultimately have a really good opportunity for you to know, like, and trust me. I don't care how many blogs you write. I don't care how many videos you do. I don't care. None of that compares to the power of a webinar. So it creates a massive commitment that doesn't cost money, but creates a massive commitment and has massive opportunity. And keep in mind, the point of webinars ultimately is some sort of action at the end. So if you're going to be talking about your product and services, you're going to invite them to make a purchase. And I don't think, you can go through it lots of different ways, but quite frankly, if you're really good at what you do and you've got a great product or service, you can simply say something like, hey, if this is something that you want to learn more about, you can click the button below, which would be on that webinar. Click the button below, and you'll have an opportunity to buy my blah, blah, blah program at this special price. And you can give them some good reasons why they should buy. That's it. So you're really just giving them an invitation. So as I said, the cloning funnel does not need to be complicated. As a matter of fact, we don't want that. Complication kills. But it does need to be thorough, right? So when I opt in to the cloning funnel, it is super important, or any funnel, that we're thorough, okay? And I'm going to walk through the different elements. So this is what makes up a cloning funnel. First thing is, you're going to record one webinar. And that could be a challenge for a lot of you, and we could spend a lot of time talking about that, but ultimately your webinar needs to walk through a few components, right? And the biggest one is, hey, this is the current state you're in. My product or service is going to take you to this other state, from the frowny face to the smiley face, and give them an opportunity to invite them to purchase that or learn more, or take the next step. Okay, whatever that is. Could be booking an appointment with you. It could be purchasing a product, whatever that next step is. Okay, and that's going to be recorded, because you're only going to do this webinar once. You're going to record it once, and then from that point on, you're going to use it as an evergreen program, meaning it's going to run in perpetuity. Okay, as I said, the system runs 24/7. This is not going to require you to do anything, and that's important. Quite frankly, marketing funnels are something that you build once, and you don't have to keep rebuilding. It just gets tweaked. You can make new ones, but that one should stand the test of time. Okay. So you're going to host that webinar on an Evergreen platform. So there's certain software that we use to host it. And what that means is, when I log in on an Evergreen webinar platform, it's very different than a video. And a lot of people don't understand the difference, right? This isn't a replay video. When I log in, it feels live. It's simulated live. So the way this works is, I can set my Evergreen webinar platform to say, start the webinar. It's going to say, hey, I have this webinar. Click here to learn more from those emails. They're going to go to the landing page, and then they're going to hit the register button. And when they do that, a pop-up is going to come up and say, when do you want, what times do you want? We have 3 times available. One is going to say, we usually like to say, the top of the next hour. So if it is 1:30, it's going to say at 2 o'clock today, or 6 o'clock tonight, or 10 a.m. tomorrow, something like that. And we give them those 3 times. These are perpetual, but it's simulated live, right? It feels live. They're going to select that time. The number 1 time that gets selected, by the way, is top of the next hour. Okay, so what would be 2 o'clock p.m. And because right now it's 1:30 p.m. Pacific time. So they would then select that, okay? And they will get a reminder. That would all be set up. They will click in, and they will start watching the webinar just like you are now. Here's the difference. I'm live talking to you about this live right now. This would be fully recorded, but there will be a Q&A just like you see here on the side, a chat function. But the chat function is live. Someone could type in a question like, hey, Ryan, I have a question about marketing funnels. Okay, and while this recording is going on, you're going to get an email or possibly a text with that Q&A, and then you can respond, and it goes live into that Evergreen webinar. That's an example of what I mean by simulated live. That Q&A functionality is critical, right? You know, you can start just like we did, saying where you're from, which, by the way, if you haven't typed in where you're from, go on the side and type in where you're from. And you can start just like this, and you can have people typing things in, okay? Just like we're going to do here in a minute, because we're going to build this funnel here for you, okay? So that's super important to understand what an Evergreen webinar really can do, okay? And it is simulated live. It feels live. They are logging in. They don't have a replay. This is it. They have to stay on, and they've got to be engaged, right? And they've got lots of ways to really engage. So you're going to have to record a webinar. You're going to have to host it. You're going to write 4 emails, and I'm going to walk you through those today. Okay? You're going to need a webinar registration page like the one I showed you, and you're going to need some kind of email delivery system that isn't Gmail. So what I mean by that is Infusionsoft, MailChimp, Constant Contact, something to that effect. We are Infusionsoft partners. We advocate Infusionsoft. We do work with some other software as well. But you're going to need an ability to sort of bulk process emails. You cannot do this, obviously, with your own sort of email. So these are the things you need to make this funnel. So if you're going to bake this cake, these are the ingredients. Okay. So here's how the cloning works, and this is sort of the magic, or one of the pieces of the magic of this funnel. So I really want you to tune in on this. Where people fall down the most is creating content. You know, they get all, oh, this is a great idea, I want to get started. And they start, and then they sort of fall down because it's a lot of work, right? It's a lot of work to write a bunch of emails and do all these autoresponders and do all this stuff. So what we do is we advocate creating one webinar, okay? But of course, during that webinar, you're gonna be talking about different things. Just like here, I'm talking about different topics. You are going to take that webinar and you're gonna copy it, you're gonna clone it, and you're gonna give it 3 different titles that are different, right? So we looked at the one about the job market, right? Finding hidden jobs that don't exist. I'm sure there's lots of different topics in that webinar, and there are 3 distinct ways that we can write different titles. So we're gonna clone that. I'm gonna show you how to do that in a second. The second thing we're gonna do is we're gonna write 4 email invitations for each webinar, and we're gonna clone them. So in actuality, those 4 emails are gonna turn into 12, okay? So with this, you're gonna have 1 webinar and 4 emails, and that's gonna turn into 12 emails and 3 webinars that people are gonna see. And so if you were to send out, let's say, an email every 3 days, that's roughly 5 weeks of emails that they're gonna see that you're gonna be promoting 3 different training opportunities, 3 different webinars. That's enormous, right? That's very thorough, and it's very important. Why? Most people do not start really making a major commitment of time or money until about their 8th impression. So usually, yes, some people are gonna do it right off that thank you page. You might even get up to a 10% conversion. So maybe 10% of the people will convert on that thank you page. But quite frankly, a lot of them are just not ready today. But they are interested, and they might. And so we look for ways to maximize that. And I'm gonna get into the next secret sauce of how we do that, okay? So I just want to remind you, it is your job, it is your product, it's your service that's going to turn your customer from a frowny face in their current state where something's not right, to a happy face. If you sell running shoes and they're like super special running shoes that don't give you blisters, you can just imagine right now the imagery is probably not about the shoe, it's about a foot with a blister on it and then a foot without a blister on it. So I just want you to keep that in mind, that it's just so important. So here's what we're gonna do in this point. I'm gonna walk you through exactly how to create your webinar topics, and your emails. So what I'm gonna ask you to do is take out a sheet of paper and a pen. I'm gonna give you a second to do that. So go ahead and start pulling that out now. And we are gonna walk through how you actually create these 3 topics. So those of you that are, experienced in marketing will be familiar with the terminology pain points. I'm going to walk you through what that means. We just talked about the foot that has a blister because of a running shoe, and then a foot that doesn't because of a different running shoe. I want the running shoe that doesn't give me a blister, right? So your customer is going to have different pain points, different problems, okay? I'm sure the blister is not the only pain point. That's sort of a simplistic thing. But if you're a service provider, if you provide a service like helping people find a job, they have more than one pain point, right? It isn't just, I need a job. Their pain point might be they feel, their feeling of self-worth, their feeling of happiness, of success, of feeling like a provider, feeling like a failure. They have different pain points. So we're going to walk you through those. And what we do is we take those top 3 pain points and turn those into the 3 webinar topics. Because quite frankly, you must be addressing them in your webinar anyway. So those are your 3 topics that we're going to do. So I want you to start by answering the first question, which is, who is your best customer, right? When I say your best customer, what is their age? What is their gender? And what is their income? So go ahead and write that down. And if you don't know it off the top of your head, just go with the first thing that you say right now. You don't need to be correct. That's not what the point of this is. The point is just to get to go through this process. So if your goal is to have a 30 to 40-year-old female who makes between at least $100,000 a year, that's because we're targeting the sort of young mom whose kids are going off to school, and dealing with, being home without kids, during the day, or a busy parent, or whatever you want to say. That's an example. So now that you've got an idea of who your best customer is, I need you to now write down your top 3 problems. These are the pain points. The top 3 problems that you solve, that you or your product solve. Okay? Top 3. And if you don't mind, could you go onto the chat box and type in your top 3 problems that you solve for your clients? Most of you are probably service providers. Most of you are really in the business of solving serious problems, right? What are the 3 problems your clients have that you solve? Go ahead and put that into the chat box. All right, cool. I see some good stuff. So we're going to move to the last part, which is equally as important. We went from the frowny face person to the smiley face person after your product. The frowny face are the top 3 problems, right? So you're identifying those, you're plugging those into the chat box. What you also need to do is to identify what your customer is going to feel like once they've implemented the solution. And those are not always the same as, it's not always exact opposite of the problem, right? Sometimes they are, and that's okay. But what are they actually going to feel like? How are they going to feel about themselves and about how they interact with the world? So go ahead and write that down. So while you're writing down how your customers are going to feel once they've implemented, your solution, I'll give you some examples. If we're talking about, let's say, finding a job, right? And how are they going to feel? They're going to feel successful. They're going to feel important. They're going to feel happy. Those are just different things that come to mind, right? That's super important. Okay, so go ahead and type those in, how your customers are going to feel once they've implemented your solution. Go ahead and type that into the chat box, because we're going to turn those into webinar topics and into emails. So if you recall, we looked at this before, okay? How to find hidden jobs in any economy. Stop competing with thousands of other job seekers for advertised jobs. This is a webinar registration page. You don't need a lot on here. We have, for example, we use this style template all the time. We have, dozens and dozens that we use. But what you need for this is the exercise we just did to create, a title, maybe a subtitle, and a video. That's it. Okay, that is it. And this would be a possible. This could be a evergreen. So this would be an evergreen, and they would select their times and register and move on. Okay. So what I want to do right now is talk about how to create the title. So each title was one pain point, right? So if your pain point is can't find a job, the webinar is there to solve for that. How to find hidden jobs in any economy. Now, yes, there's some good copy on that. It doesn't just say how to find a job, right? So we do spend a little bit more time in digging into that. So what I want you to do is spend a moment and turn your 3 pain points into a very simple how-to. Now, by the way, I want to caveat this. A lot of times we don't like to say how to do something, like how to do this as a name of it, but as a starting point, it's really powerful, the way to start your copy. So I want you to go through your 3 pain points and write how to insert your pain point, how to overcome, how to solve. Now, some of you might be getting a little stuck here. And that's why we also look at their desired state, right? So what they're going to feel like afterwards. So most of the time, what we like to do is take the webinar title as the pain point, and then the subtitle is going to be that feeling, that solution type thing. So it might say, how to find a job in an economy that isn't growing, or how to find a job when how to find jobs that aren't advertised, whatever it is. And then we talk about how they're going to feel after they do, right, as a subheading. And we could talk about that of a lot of different ways, right? So let's focus though on this top header, 3 headers. If anybody's got any webinar titles, pop it in. Now keep in mind, put it in the Q&A. Keep in mind, this is one webinar. We're going to copy this webinar and we are going to give it 3 different titles, okay? Why do we do this? We do it for a couple of reasons. One, it makes it easier, okay? The fact of the matter is you can make webinars till the cows come home. For the most part, once someone's watched a webinar from you, they're either interested in taking a bigger commitment or they're not. There is no point in making a bunch of webinars unless you want to sell a bunch of different things. If you're only communicating or selling one thing, you only need one webinar. For the most part, most people don't have a plethora of products they need to have different webinars for, okay? But we do it with different pain points, with different titles for a variety of reasons. And the first is, that's what speaks to people. So one person might be, if I'm out of a job, it might be being a provider and feeling like a failure to my family. Well, that speaks to me. But getting brand new shoes or a new car or more money from that job doesn't speak to me. So I'm much more likely to register for that webinar if you're addressing my pain point, my problem, because I want you to solve my problem, not something else. I need to be very, very specific. That's why you take your top 3 pain points and you create them and speak to people differently, okay? That's the first reason. The second reason is it's just easier. If I told you to make 3 webinars, well, guess what? It's not going to give you 3 times the results. As a matter of fact, it's going to give you the exact same results. So just make one webinar, duplicate it. Now, once someone has seen the webinar, they're no longer going to get any emails asking them to see another one. So there's no chance they're going to see it twice, okay? So if you have any webinar titles you like, pop them into the Q&A. I think that's super important. Even if you just get 1 or 2, just remember 3 pain points, 3 webinar titles, 1 webinar. Okay. In order to promote the webinar, we need 4 emails. And this is a formula that we use to write your 4 emails, okay? The first is just a simple, urgent invite. Honestly, people write too much in an email, okay? And I think that's because 5 years ago, 10 years ago, info marketers used to write these big, long emails. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with big, long emails. Those work. But you're not asking someone to read your email. That's not the micro commitment. You're asking them to register, okay? So an urgent invite, hey, is really powerful. And an example of that would be this. Hey, first of all, thanks for requesting my book. Okay, it looks like you didn't claim your advanced training on how to attract and close dream clients. You can get that here. There's no charge. P.S. This advanced training is important, so please get it here. Simple. Just, real simple. We make it, what you don't write is, hey, I have this really cool webinar. Do you want to come check it out? It is, you tell them exactly what you want them to do. Go here, register for this webinar, bam, done. That is remarkable how successful that is. And I can't tell you how many people don't actually do that. Really, really clear, right? Hey, this is Ryan, look at my subject, important, about your book request. Or new training, $13 million per hour. These are very, very, very simple emails that say, go here and register. It's going to be there. You got to go see this. Second, take the same exact invitation you did in the first email, but this time spell out the benefits they're going to get from that, the desired states. Those 3 things you just did before that exercise, spell it out. You're going to get this, this, this. Okay? That's it. Same email, add the benefits. You're done. That'll be the second email. And usually you can put these 1 day apart, you can put them 3 day apart, but it's in that range. Okay? Third thing you're going to do, a before and after customer story in an email. Really simple. This was Joe before and he had blistered feet. This is Joe now and he doesn't have blistered feet. You want to learn how Joe did it? Watch my training. Watch my webinar. Click here. That is it. Before and after story. And the 4th email, last chance. The webinar is going away. And keep in mind, all of these, there is no replay when you put that in the email. That's very important. There is no replay, so you must watch this now. I will not send you a replay. Last chance, there is no replay for this. Okay? You will send these 4 emails out for your first webinar topic. If they register and watch it, they won't get any more emails. You'll set your email autoresponder to do that. And then they're not getting any more in this sequence. They won't going to get any more invitations. But if they don't, we're going to wash, rinse, and repeat. You're going to rewrite these emails. You're going to take the exact same emails. Okay? But instead of it being about the first topic, it's now just about topic number 2. Because quite frankly, a lot of people just aren't going to read your emails. So, you know, you're looking at a pretty small percentage that are actually going to read those first 4 emails anyway. So I wouldn't be too worried that people are going to remember in the world of all the emails they get that they're going to be like, oh my gosh, I just got that same email all over again, right? So you just do it all over again, but put in the new topic. So, and usually these are 3 days out, 2 or 3 days out, okay? I like to put the emails, just so you know, I like to put these 2 days apart, wait at least 3, if not 7 days to start the next sequence, 2 days apart, all 4 of those emails, wait close to a week, and then do them all over 2 days apart, okay? You've got, you know, like 5 weeks of content going there, very powerful, okay? Your job is not for them to read your emails. Your job is them to let them make a decision if they want to do a micro commitment and join your webinar. Now, here's some of those examples of emails, right? There's lots of great examples that you can look out there. You just don't need to write something that's too long. As a matter of fact, I think that's one of the biggest stumbling blocks for people. So the cloning funnel works super well because one is it's very thorough. Because most purchases happen after 8+ impressions. You need to make lots of impressions. Okay. What you don't need to do is make sure that every one of those impressions is like a first impression, and you've got to show up in a new card every single time for a new date or a new suit. You could just change the tie on the suit, keep the suit the same, and it works just as well. Okay, so it's very, very, very thorough. Second is it's very easy. It's going to triple your output of your content. Quite frankly, take a look at those emails. How long is it really going to take you to write those emails? Make your webinar topics. You can have your webinar topics and your emails done pretty quickly. And now you're gonna make the webinar centered around those 3 topics. So you're gonna start the webinar and you're gonna say, hey, these are the 3 topics we're gonna discuss. We're really gonna dive into today. Are you in this place, or this place? Because this is what we're gonna do. So it's totally applicable. So you work backwards to make your webinar, right? That's how you do it. You work backwards. You don't create a webinar and then say, okay, now how am I gonna market it? And how am I going to do all this? You're going to create the system to market it and then put the webinar in place at the end, because it's a marketing tool. It's a communication tool, right? So we need it to be easy. We need to be thorough. And this is critical. We need it to be targeted. The other big mistake that I see people doing is they're going to send out things like that are not targeted. Hey, you know, come check out my new training or whatever. Or whatever they're asking for, it's just not specific enough to their target customer. I'm in pain, I don't have a job, and I'm feeling like a failure to my wife and kids. That is very specific, all right? And I want to address that, and I want a solution for it. And I'm assuming that obviously you have a good solution, that goes without saying, But the way that you attract someone to learning more, to making that commitment, is to having that very, very, very targeted thing, because you may have 3 very different pain points, and quite frankly, I'm not going to resonate with maybe 1 and 2 that much, but I might resonate with number 3. And so we have really 3 different shots to talk to people. So this isn't just 12 general emails. It's 3 different strategies, 3 different ways to get people to really engage. This gets a much, much, much higher conversion rate. Okay? So I just want to recap here, because we're going to wrap up. We talked about the cloning funnel and what the cloning funnel is. The cloning funnel is someone opts in from your website or somewhere else. You need to make an opt-in. Okay? At which point, right from there, we start inviting them to a training, to a webinar. You're going to record 1 webinar. Okay? You're going to record 1 webinar, but what you're going to do is you're going to clone that webinar, or you're going to copy it, and you're going to give it 3 distinct titles. And those titles are based on the 3 top problems that your customer has, that you're solving for, that your product solves for. So in the case that someone has a job, they're out of a job, right? We're going to identify 3 top pain points and 3 top, feelings they're going to feel when they've used this new product and gotten their job. And we're going to create these 3 different, webinar titles, but all with the same webinar. And then we're going to write 4 emails using that 4 email system we just said. Very simple. And we're just simply going to duplicate them and change out basically the name of the webinar, and maybe some little benefits and a few words, but the same exact sequence, right, that we just went through. So if someone's going to opt in, they're going to get these emails, these 12 emails inviting them to go to 3 different webinars. And quite frankly, if after 12 emails someone isn't going to want to watch this webinar, then we may want to move to a different strategy outside of a webinar. That may not be the right thing for them. They just may not be interested in it. It may not be the right type of thing. So that's how this whole thing works. And now we can talk about conversions. The last thing I want to get into is the numbers. So the numbers on this is kind of extraordinary. We can take folks that really barely have a product or a service yet, or just brand new, and don't have much. You don't need a website. You don't need any of those things. Put in a funnel like this, build this out, and the conversion to the webinar is relatively extraordinary. And so obviously we get a lot of people that register but don't show up. So registering and showing up are a little different. But what we like to see is between a 5 and 10% attendance rate within those 12 emails. So while I'm sending out those 12 emails, I want, by the end of the 12th email, I'd like, let's say 10% of those people that opted in to show up to the webinar. Now from there, your webinar needs to do what it needs to do and obviously convert people. But that's really, really powerful. And that is a game changer for people. So I can run some Facebook ads, and I know 1 out of 10 people are going to show up to this webinar. That's extraordinary, because by the way, the other 9 out of 10, I still have other opportunities. Some are going to opt out of my email list, but I'm still going to have other opportunities. But this is what we like to do first and foremost. And if this is all that you do, it can be very, very effective. So I'm going to kind of wrap up here. I just kind of went through a little bit of a recap. I'm hoping that this funnel presentation all made sense. So here's what I'm going to ask you to do. You want to see a cool way to opt in? Here it is. Pull out your phone right now. And the mobile number I want you to text to is 64600. 64600. That's the number, and I want you to type the word funnel to that number. And I'm going to give you a copy of this presentation, and you will see another way to opt in, and that's through text messaging. Just one of the many, many ways that you can experience and you can get, create a funnel. So once again, text funnel to 64600. So if you're pulling out your phone, do it right now, because we're going to end the presentation here. 64600, and then the message you send is funnel. Okay? if you have any issues with that, you can put it into the Q&A, and you can put your email in the Q&A, and we can send it that way as well. That's another way to do it, but I think it's a little more fun to use the text. So once again, text the words funnel, F-U-N-N-E-L, to 64600, and I'll give you a copy of this presentation and a bunch of other cool stuff. So once again, I'm Ryan Rothschild. I really want to thank you for being here, for spending the time with me. This was super awesome. I'm hoping you learned something from this. Hoping you got inspired. And feel free to check us out at the Business Foundry. And happy hunting, and have a wonderful day. Thank you very much.